So this week we've got Fiona, lady ref on the Instagrams.
Another one you've managed to source out of nowhere.
Out of absolutely nowhere. And what a diamond as well. What a diamond. She is a lovely human being. She knew the game a lot better than we did, which is not hard at all. But should we speak to her now?
Go for it.
Go for it. So here we are with Fiona, the lady ref, as she's known on the Instagrams. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. To you?
Yeah, good. I'm amazing.
You're drunk. You've been in the pub.
Thank you for highlighting that. Hi, Mum. So how's it been? We know there's been some storms. You're in the Wales. How's it been down there? A bit windy?
Bit windy, yeah. We've been a bit flooded, but yeah, I think we're hopefully through that now. It's stopped a bit of rugby for the weekend, but hopefully we'll be back to it this weekend. So
yeah, there we go. We got a game lined up for Saturday.
I've actually got a Friday night game.
Oh, amazing! Under the lights.
Yeah, so local team for me. So yeah,
amazing.
Bala and Dolgethley. So
incredible. So tell us, just rugby at first. How did you get into rugby?
It kind of came originally from just wanting to get fit after I had the kids. And a friend of mine played, and she was like, just come and do a session. And I did. I turned up to the local rugby club, and there was about 5 or 6 girls, chucked a ball around, thought this is actually all right. And then just went every week then, but realised that at that point I think I could probably only do about 4 sit-ups, and that I was really unfit. But yeah, sort of got into, they didn't really have a team like most women's teams. They struggled with numbers, and that's quite frustrating with training. So at the time, I then moved to another club because everybody was training at Cobra. And when I turned up there was like 30 girls all playing against each other, training session. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was a completely different experience to the other club that I'd been at. And then that was it. I just kind of got stuck and hooked. So, yeah.
What position did you play?
Originally, I started on the wing. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. So stick the new girl out on the wing. But we were a relatively new team anyway. So there were lots of girls that hadn't played rugby before, other than possibly a little bit in uni. Eventually, I ended up as scrum half. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where the gobbiness comes from, right? Oh, I get it.
I'm classic.
Just before we go any further, Phil, what vessel are you drinking out of today? It was fucking massive.
Stein?
A Stein of blackcurrant juice.
Yeah. Health.
Forever the professional.
Yeah.
It did make me laugh a minute ago, Phil, when you were like, oh yeah, I wasn't fit, so I started playing rugby. I was fit until I started playing rugby. That was the thing that I found. I found I was fit and then rugby. So you played, and then when did you get into refereeing?
They tried to rope me into coaching initially, and I was like, I don't want to coach. I really don't like. My kids are bad enough. I don't want to teach other kids. So I was like, I'll do the referee course, and I did it, and then I kind of didn't do an awful lot with it for a while, because for me playing was a priority, and the games kind of clashed on Sundays to do the junior games to get into it, and then I eventually gave it a go and thought it was all right, and did a bit more, and then COVID kind of happened, as I was just really starting to do more of it, and then stopped everything. So yeah.
So you did the right thing of going, I don't want any more kids, so I don't want to coach. Phil treats us all like children at training sessions. He's like a dad to me. It's scary. You don't particularly like coaching now, Phil, do you?
it's just hard work. I mean, it's just I coach the seniors, and it's like it's worse than looking after my own kids. It's really hard work.
They're bad, to be fair.
It's funny that you say that. Like, I don't like coaching. I've actually ended up as the hub lead for the girls. So I actually have ended up doing coaching as well. On top of, at one point last year, I was playing, refereeing, and coaching.
So you're like the World Rugby's perfect example of the volunteer of rugby.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything. Do you make the teas and coffees? Do you?
Yeah.
Do you the kit
Pour
afterwards?
pints behind the bar.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So going back to the refereeing. So you've been refereing so you started just before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then you've been just getting into it properly now.
Yeah, so I sort of about a year before COVID, I'd sort of tried to do more, but at that time I was still playing and just committing with the kids and work and everything, and I enjoyed. So it was just trying to fit it in, and then I had a shoulder injury, and always knew that my playing days were going to end. So it sort of, that happened. I had played my last game back September, October, and then said, this is my last game, I'm done, to my team. And that's it. So yeah, just refereeing now.
Oh. Well, I mean, I've always I've had a lot of respect for people that go into refereeing, because it must be a horrible job to do on a Saturday. Because for me, I mean, I've played with a fair few people that like their opinion to be known.
Yeah.
But you must come across people who are just don't have any respect for a referee, regardless of what we say about rugby. They try and like it, but then you hear jibes in the changing room afterwards, and like, oh, shit to shizners and all this. Do you get a lot of that, or is it just a case of, do you know what, I don't care what happens, it was me on the pitch for 80 minutes, after that I'm just a person in the bar?
Yeah, I'm my own biggest critic, so
Really?
I critique myself more than anything. On pitch, I'm sort of shut off from it on the sidelines, and you do a bit, or try to. I think abuse is getting worse. Yeah, I think the level of abuse and the intensity, I think, every ref expects, ref, that's not this. And, all expect a little bit of that. But I think, there's been incidents down South Wales where the ref's been lynched in the car park after. And, like there's been people trying to hit them, and that you're just thinking, what's going on? That's not rugby.
It's not rugby, is it?
No. Is it? And I think since COVID, has it got worse, or I don't know. I don't really know. I was going to put it as a question actually on one of my Instagrammers. Is it getting worse, and why do we think it is getting worse?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because as a sport, we're very quick to turn to people who are involved in like football and other sports to go, no, we're the sport of politeness, and we're a community, and we're the rugby family, as we like to band around on everything. But I didn't appreciate it was getting worse. And looking back at games which I've played in and watched, the sidelines are definitely getting worse. Looking back on it in hindsight, you hear stuff come from the side of the pitch. You're like, just want you're a supporter. You're not. If you were good enough to be a referee, you'd have been on the pitch refereeing, kind of thing. Is it? Has there been any? And it might be a bit of a hard question, but has there been any incidents on the pitch where you've got home and you've gone, actually, why do I do this?
Yeah, definitely. There are points where you think, or I felt, why? But actually, I enjoy it. I take you there and there. I don't enjoy the views, obviously, but overall, those minuscule incidents, maybe in the grand scale of it, is probably outweighs, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think it's quite a strange one, isn't it? Because in the most part, I'm quite good with referees. Having captain teams and stuff like that, I'm quite good at talking to a referee, and I don't tend to complain as much as others. And I think as a club, we're not too bad at it. Maybe the other week was a bit of a. We just had a very poor referee, and I don't think we were abusive to him, but I think we let him know that we weren't very particularly happy with his decisions. Well, I hope it came across like that anyway. But I never understand, like, the referee can only be so, like, even if the referee is absolutely appalling, there must be a reason why their mind is in that position. So you must be doing something wrong to, like, incur that penalty or incur those free kicks or whatever. It's not just, the referee's not just going to decide, right, I'm just going to give everything to this one team today. That'd be a really pointless way of refereeing.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, maybe it's a better question for you, Fiona, than it is for me to direct an answer to it. But you must have spoken to teams within the first 10 minutes going, well, you've lost me now. Because actually, do you ever, pardon me, have you ever played a game where you go, after about 10, 15 minutes, and they're just telling you abuse, and you go, well, you've lost me now. Like, I'd like to ref it fairly, but actually you've been in my ear, and subconsciously it's going to be really hard to ref this equally. Or do you still try and, no matter what you hear back, you still, I mean, you would always still try and ref it fairly, but it is easy to turn off a team when they're just being idiots, basically.
Yeah, you do. And I think if somebody annoys you a little bit, well, I try to ref it fairly as much as I can. Even if I've got somebody jibbing in my ear, I try and manage them and more individually. I think coaches, we can manage this, as you say, you mentioned about like supporters and stuff like that, and managing coaches and stuff. Do you ever speak to the referees after a game? Will you go up to them and have a chat?
Yeah, quite often I do.
Yeah.
As one of the coaches, the refs normally come and find us and ask us a few questions. We've got one or two refs in the league that are really quite interested in getting better, and therefore they will stay. We've had one ref stay until like 7:30 one night, like just chatting away and having a few drinks and stuff, because I think his wife was driving him home. So yeah, we do try and talk to the refs if we get the chance. And there's a young lad in our league who's, I think, is really good. In fact, he refed us at Bridgenorth, which is obviously near you. And I thought he was really good. And we've had him once since, but he was quite interested to know our feedback and stuff. So we do try. Obviously, sometimes the refs have travelled a long way and want to get home, which is totally understandable. And sadly, in our league, I feel like some of the refs are not really that interested and just want to get away. So we've had one ref, and I won't mention his name, but he turned up 5 minutes before kickoff and drove home in his kit after the game.
I think for me, that's partly, I was chatting to somebody about abuse and stuff. I was like, do you ever go in the clubhouse and have a drink after? And like, no, I just go. And I'm like, well, why not? For me, if we need to try and build a relationship back up with coaches and players, that's part of it. And I get why some refs don't, because I think if they've had a really bad game and they've got people shouting them, they don't need that in a clubhouse. But I'd like to think we're all adults, and that actually we could probably just sit down over a pint and say, yeah, do you know what? I probably did make a really bad decision there, and it wasn't the right decision, but I made it for this reason, and have a chat about it. Yeah. There's certainly been a point in games of mine. I remember my first male and senior game, and I can't remember, but I think I gave a penalty instead of infringement, a line out, and it should have been a free kick, and I gave a penalty. And the captain came across and he was like, "Is that going to be it for the rest of the game? Are you going to give that for a penalty for the rest of the game?" I was like, "Yes, I will." And at that point, I realised that I'd got the law completely wrong. And I went
At this moment, I knew I'd fucked up.
And I said, "Look, I appreciate that should have been a free kick, and I gave a penalty. I will continue to give a penalty. I was wrong, but for the rest of the game, I will give a penalty." But putting my hands up and sort of saying, "Yeah, I made that mistake."
yeah. And since I've only started to captain R3s and 2s in the last few weeks or so, but I've had a lot more respect for the referees that have come to me even at half time to go, "Look, I made a mistake there. I missed something, and that was it." And I think that's when that rapport comes back between the player authority kind of relationship. You go, "Oh right, yeah, they're human. They know they've made a mistake." But I know that I've had some referees on the pitch, and you've probably come across people where you've known these type of people, Fiona, where you've gone, they made a mistake, but they're not going to put their hands up to it. They're just going to battle on and go, "Yeah, no, I was right," and no explanation. And I mean, it's frustrating as a player, and it might be frustrating for you as well when you see other people ref and you go, "Actually, it build a lot better of a rapport between us and them," because I guess it probably does feel like us and them sometimes on a pitch, where you go, "It'd just been easier if we just put our hands up and go, yeah, absolutely, that was my bad." Yeah, I think perhaps doing that after the game, not like in the middle, maybe, because you want to back your decisions. And I think one of the things that I am terrible with is I don't back my own decisions in the game, and I presume that everybody knows it more than me. And then I come across sometimes as being a bit sort of, "Ooh," and that can be picked up and used against me by players. But yeah, I think referees can work with clubs. One of the things that we're trying to do at the minute in our society is work with coaches and do some coaching sessions and some sort of scrum specific sessions, get the referees in and do that. I think that's happening in other areas as well, isn't it? So yeah, I've heard whispers of that happening at play. I don't think we've got up in the Midlands at the minute, but it's definitely, I think it's definitely something that unions need to really investigate or look into. So not investigate, but to go, right, let's see how we can build this relationship properly so everyone's on the same page. Because we'll have referees, and I guess it depends on the directive which is coming down, but one week there'll be a decision which is made, and then the next week it won't be, because actually the directives have changed and we're looking for different things each week. Do you get that in Wales as well? Or
I think it happens all over. I think we sat, this is what I find so fascinating about when I first started, what I wanted as a referee is whatever I see somebody else see. So if I see it as off feet, somebody else would see it as off feet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In a picture. But actually, when you sit amongst lots of other referees and you're doing sort of a training session on say high impact decisions, so high tackles and stuff like that, and World Rugby have released a very clear framework for head contact, red and yellow cards, and you sat there and referees, and they're still arguing it. Like some of the senior referees that have played for 20 years and then gone into referee, and they're like, "That's not a red card. I'd only give a penalty for that." But World Rugby want you to give a red card for this. We're not. Sometimes it's getting everybody on board on the same page, isn't it?
I think that's the difference. That's one of the issues that the sport has at the moment. Is you've got the traditionalists, for lack of a better word, that are like, "Oh no, this head contact thing's all rubbish." Like,
it's rugby. That's what happens.
Yeah, get on with it. And then you've got sort of like the more liberal youngsters, and who obviously have grown up with the new sort of head laws and stuff. So I think the whole sport's a bit of a transitional phase, getting around their head round this sort of concussion protocol, all this. And, even I thought it was really disgusting the other night in the England 20s game with Italy, the one they lost, where at the end of the game, I don't know whether you saw this, Fiona, one of the England, I think it was the England winger, he kind of like got took out in the air, but it was more of a 50-50. And he landed on his shoulder and he went down holding his shoulder, as you would, because he came out of the air. And the ref gave a HIA to him. So she was like, she thought he'd gone down and holding his head.
Yes, so I did see this.
And there was a caveat to it as well.
Yeah, so I think there's a big issue about it, wasn't it? Where the England coaches had then gone on and said, no, he doesn't need a HIA.
Yeah.
Instead of going, all right, yeah, fine. We'll HIA him. He can come back on once he's okay, which is probably what they should have done. They tried to argue with her.
Yeah.
I thought that was really bad. I thought as soon as the ref says HIA, it's just like any other decision. You just suck it up and get on with it. And even if it is wrong, like we've been saying, you just have to.
Yeah, I don't get where the England coach team are coming from, really, because, yeah, okay, get him seen by an independent doctor. If he hasn't, he's fine. Get him back on.
Yeah.
I didn't see a big deal in it, but obviously they felt it was, and argued with it. I can't think of the name now.
She French?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name.
I'll dig it out, yeah.
Annoy me.
You dig it out, yeah. But it's such an annoyance because ultimately, so Fiona, you'll be able to illustrate what in your eyes, what is the role of a referee on a rugby pitch? Is it to push the law down, or is it to protect the players?
I think we're both. You know, the laws are there to try and, or some of the laws are there to protect players and safety, isn't it? We're there to, I'm a nurse, so the minute somebody goes down, are you okay? So I think we've got to think of player safety. I've been chatting to a local lad that had his neck broken in a scrum, and yeah, bless him, he's said to the referee previous that I don't feel comfortable in this scrum. This isn't happening. And I think he was sort of, that was fell on deaf ears. And then he ended up where he's got a broken neck. And yeah, I think we're both, I think.
Yeah.
I've got the name.
Yeah,
so
go on.
Aurelier. But I got a chance to say this.
Something or other is the surname.
Grosilio.
Yeah.
Look at us being exotic.
If it was German, I'd be all over it. But French, I haven't got a clue.
Fuck off when you've been over it. If it was German.
English, never mind anything else.
But I mean, I guess it's probably a very good time to talk to you about decisions of the pitch, because we go back to from the under-20 to, I mean, I've not watched much Six Nations this year, but the whole Jack Noel thing the other day, it was the I can't remember who was reffing. Was he a Sefer or an Aussie? Jack Noel went down. The ref said, "Come on, speed it up," and the Dutch was like, "No, I think it's a head injury. No, speed it up." And then play went on for a minute, and then Jack Noel went down again, and he had to get taken off for HIA. It's very interesting that, and I don't blame the ref, because obviously there must have been a directive somewhere of, come on, let's keep the game going, let's not stop for 5, because one of the most frustrating things as a fan in rugby is the stop-start part of rugby. No one wants to go to a game and watch stop-start rugby, because actually it's stop-start naturally as a sport. When it comes to injuries, if you're waiting 7 minutes or whatever to get someone off the pitch, and I get that, but what is the directive when it is a head injury, or you think it's a head injury? Is it just get them off the pitch as quickly as possible to go and get checked?
Well, there is. We're talking community level, aren't we? No such thing as HIA in community level. If anybody's got any sign of concussion, for me, they're off. I don't want to see them back. Sorry, and that's harsh. I know, but again, coming from a nursing background, I've seen the implications of when players have been put back on, and so I will always verge on get them off and safety.
And it kind of shocks me, and in the sense of we live, and this is going to sound really harsh to people that identify as this, the snowflake society, and we've got this kind of we must protect each other, and then going onto a pitch and it's like, actually no, they're fine to play on. We're like, no. Someone said they're not very well. Get them off the pitch. Why is that argument still going on? Of, no, they've hurt their head. No, they'll be fine. They're hard. I've heard that a lot on he's hard as nails. He'll be fine. You're like, he might be. I'm not sure his head is.
It's that old school, isn't it? Those old school people that we're used to scrums. I don't know if you watched over lockdown. There was a YouTube review of Leinster and Munster game from 10 years ago.
Oh, when the scrums like run at each other.
Yeah, Nigel Whitehouse was the referee. And it was in the run up to the Leinster and Munster final, Pro 14 final. And they did. And it was really interesting. I think Sean Holly did commentary on it, and Paul Williams. If you haven't seen it, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, do.
It's really interesting because I was just watching it going, my God, what's that scrum? It was just unbelievable. Because I didn't play rugby back then. I've only got into rugby relatively new. So, unfortunately for females, rugby wasn't an option in school for me. It is now, which is great. But back when I was in school, it wasn't. So
I was watching some highlights of New Zealand when they first started playing like their jouet style of rugby in 1984 against South Africa, and the scrums are literally like run-ups, and the tackling is just horrific. Like, there's one point where basically a South African just uses his elbow to take someone out and knock them to the floor, and you're just like, how did those people get up on a Monday morning and go to work? Because obviously it was all amateur then.
Probably didn't. Oh,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's interesting. Going back to your previous question, you were saying about referees being scrutinised on pitch. As a team of 4 within 15, if you're having a bad day, you can hide within that 15, can't you?
I've done it weeks and weeks and weeks.
But as a referee, if you're having a bad day, there's no hiding. I went out and did a game the other week. My head was not in it. I'd come off it, and I had an assessor with me that day, and he was like, "What's going on today?" I didn't even. The guy put the try down, and I'd walk back to the halfway line. I'd forgotten about him converting.
No, it's all right. I'll give you 7. It's fine.
Within the first 10 minutes, and I was like, and then from then on, it just got worse. But we all have bad days, and I think we all need to understand that even at professional level, that they have bad days too.
Yeah.
Always perfect.
Well, yeah. We could all be a Razzie Erasmus if we wanted to and sit in front of a camera. I mean, I could definitely sit in front of a camera for an hour and talk about stuff I don't really care about. But we'll come back to refereeing. We'll also come back to the point of women's rugby as well and girls rugby. But something I do want to touch on, and I mentioned it before we started recording, is your presence on Instagram. I love it. I absolutely love your Instagram. It's amazing. I to be fair, I wish I could put my tagline on Instagram of I like to wear bikinis and a bobble hat, but I don't think I'd have enough followers by the end of it. But what I love you Instagram because you are very. It's very obvious that you want people to learn as well with your questions and stuff. And also, I want someone to go on as well is the referee rooms. So we'll start on what drove the questions on Instagram first. So where did this idea come from, and what prompted you to go towards it?
So the questions. So I think pre-COVID, I had 100 followers. That was it, mainly friends and family, and I really didn't do an awful lot with it. And the idea of my Instagram initially was, I wanted it just to be pure rugby. I wanted it to just reflect my journey as a referee and whatever I came up with. And just I wanted just to encourage young girls. And if somebody saw it and picked up a whistle because of what they've seen me do or whatever, then I'd be really happy. And then lockdown kind of happened and I put more fitness stuff on. There was no problem. And then it was sort of me doing just me, which is bobble hat and bikini quite often. And then I decided we got involved in a development group over lockdown for referees. Welsh Rugby had sort of set up just to kind of keep us going. And part of that was some questions that were sent through on a weekly basis by a chap called Ken Braxton, who's an ex-referee, and now he's a mentor for Wales. And I was answering them. I was shocking. Like, I haven't got a clue. So I started putting them on Instagram.
Amazing.
Asking people. And then he stopped doing them. And I carried on doing them. And thankfully, rugby has so many laws.
Laws. Yeah, you said it again there. Laws. You picked me up before recording and you picked me up after.
I just keep reinventing them and then showing little clips and trying to do signals and various different things. So yeah, it's just come from that. And I get so much feedback from it. People love it, which is great.
One thing I saw you dropped on Instagram, and Tom and anyone who knows me will know that I don't really do social media. Very much face for radio.
He doesn't know how to do social media. Yeah. I'm working with how old are you, Phil?
33.
I'm working with literally a 63-year-old when it comes to social media. It's bad.
But I saw an image that you put up about sort of like with a load of abusive messages that you'd got.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was yesterday or the day before.
So these weren't messages from me. So these were messages that one of the local rugby clubs had from their TikTok account. Lampeter ladies, and it's a training video of their girls tackling. And if you read some of the comments that like men and lads and people are putting, it's just annoying. It's so angry.
It's annoying. It's also not really that funny. Like,
no.
And you just kind of like, I'd love to see you ever go. That is kind of always the thought I have. Is
a couple of people messaged me. I was like, "Let me in a room with them. Let me in a room with them."
and Fiona, you've been
banging or doing any of
any
of that.
And you've been very polite there to say it's annoying. I mean, as a middle-class white man, I can say it's fucking disgusting what some people say. And like I said earlier, we fucking bark on every week on social media about how it's a community game, how we're a family. But there are just some, I'm not going to say the word I was going to say. I was going to say the C word. But there are some absolute dickheads out there. All right, there are some cunts out there that just do not understand how it goes.
Drop a twat or a on the podcast.
Oh, honestly, we love that word on here. We cannot get enough of it. But there literally are some idiots that have no fucking idea what they're saying. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some idiots. And you can be honest, you put me up with some what people have to go through on a Saturday. And these people have never played rugby in their life. They see something, go, oh, here's women playing rugby. Oh, they're not hitting as hard as Courtney Laws or Beardy or someone like that. And they just, oh, they can't possibly do this thing that we see as this big testosterone fueled sport. And it's like, it's not about the testosterone. I mean, there is parts of it on a Saturday that are, I don't know about you, Phil, and I don't know about you, Phil. I never played rugby because I genuinely enjoyed letting out some aggression. Mainly, it was the shit after the game that I was bothered about. It was more the fact of, oh, I've now got 20 extra friends. I've now got 21 friends after I turned up. I had one friend. He wasn't real, but it's just that's the whole part of rugby that we all love. And you get these knobheads that just think, I'm going on a rant here, and that might be the third double whiskey I've poured myself. We just get knobheads that just think they know everything about rugby. And you post, and I've seen other people in rugby post it. It's just hatred, and there's no need for it at all. Have you had stuff come through to you on Instagram, Fiona?
Yeah. I've had some messages, and I was sort of initially quite taken back and was a bit like, oh my God, some guy really sort of quite abusive to me. And I then looked at him, and he got like 7 other accounts, all with similar. So I sent it to another friend, like, I'm shocked, look at this, what I've got. And we blocked him on all and reported all of his other accounts as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, you get, as a female rugby player, like, we do get, often, like, I work within nursing and talking to patients and people, and you'll say you're playing rugby, and they're like, oh, you're not big enough to play rugby, so do females play the same laws as men, or you get all that kind of thing, and you explain to them it's exactly the same, and you're not actually a lesbian, and you can be small and play rugby.
I grew up and my sister played to quite a high level. She's a year younger than me, and people at school used to tease her, but they'd immediately regret it, because I'm 6'5" and my sister's only maybe 5'8", 5'9", but she is the scariest person I know.
Fiona, honestly, she is terrifying. She is. Franny Egg is terrifying.
And like she got a bit of stick for it at school, but then she was captain of like the local uni for the first team for a couple of years, and the team she was in growing up, she was in the same team as Emily Scarrett, and
phenomenal player.
Yeah, and a few others. So
incredible rugby.
She had a good team, and they played real high level of rugby. So I never really understand it. To be honest, someone said to me the other day, "Oh yeah, but it's just not as good to watch, is it?" And I was like, "Well, I'd rather watch it." So I watched the England-New Zealand game at Exeter a couple of months ago, and that's way more enjoyable than watching England men's team at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Like, some of the women's rugby, it's fantastic to watch compared to men.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I'm surprised Elliot Daly hasn't managed to get in the centres for the England women either. But
but caveat here, because I know Elliot Daly listens to the podcast. Right, I like Elliot Daly. Phil doesn't like Elliot Daly. Right, we're going to pass through this. But going back to what we were saying, I when I was at university, I was dating one of the girls that played on the wing for Trent Uni, and I had people come up to me in Ocean and other nightclubs all the time. You do realise you're dating a dyke, don't you? And I was like, firstly, I don't think I am. I know I have titties, but I don't think I am. But secondly, just because she plays rugby, it's such a ridiculous fucking assumption, isn't it? Oh, it's a woman doing something that a man does. Must be a lesbian. Where does that mental? It's misogynistic. That's how it is. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It is. And from going from what is crazy for misogynistic. We're going to take a break before Phil gets his package out for. Don't get too excited, Fiona.
I'm pretty excited about this.
I've heard. We're going to take a break because obviously I've had beers and I need a wee, which happens in the podcast. I'll have a wee and then we'll get back and record again. Phil, come on. Get your package out for Fiona.
Okay, mate. Right, so Fiona, you haven't had the luxury of listening to many podcasts by us.
That's a wise idea, to be fair. You probably wouldn't have agreed to it if you had.
So Phil's package is very nicely named by Tom, and I enjoy it immensely. It's just a quick fire round. It's nothing difficult.
Okay.
I've kept it relatively tame because we don't know each other that well. I'd like to keep in touch. So, question 1: red or green?
Red.
Good answer.
Because we play in red and green. That's
okay.
That's the reason. That's why. Good research there, Fiona. I'm glad you said that.
Favorite alcoholic beverage?
Ooh. Anything. Probably just like a Corona or something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
With or without the lime?
With.
Oh, posh.
With, unless I've run out, in which case I might stuff a lemon in there.
Oh, put an apple core in there.
Just some fruit.
And a mango.
Favorite team to referee?
Oh gosh. I love refereeing women's games. And actually just under 18 girls games as well. In some ways. Sorry, I don't have a specific team that I.
You know, I was going to say we need to press you for what? Go on, if we're going to press you for one team.
Favorite team to referee? Come on.
My favourite team to referee would probably be Shot and Steel ladies team.
That's cool. We could tag them in it, and hopefully they'll follow us back.
What is your hidden talent?
Oh God. Gosh, I've got. I don't say I've got many hidden talents. I don't say I've got any talents at all. I'm really, really good at taking blood, and I know that sounds ridiculous.
I was going to say, let's see your hidden talent, but I really don't want to see that.
But to the point where, like, anaesthetists will struggle to get cannulas in people's veins, and I will get them in, and it's like my
Go on, get the dog back. Come on.
I also do the splits.
Go on, there we go. We've had one lad do it before. Come on, we'll move on. We don't want to have to.
Your blood taking story or hidden talent takes me back to when my mum was also a nurse, or was. I think she recently retired. I don't think she's told her employer, but she's recently retired, and she had to come back from Australia. And she had to remember how to take blood, so she started taking my dad. I think she passed out about 3 times in 3 days. She just drained him of all his blood. So anyway, you can lose weight. England or Wales?
That's a question. Wales.
Right, there you go. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll speak to you later.
Playing or refereeing?
Oh, refereeing.
Worst team to referee?
Oh God. Oh.
We won't tag them in it. Don't worry.
Come on. I don't know. Probably some Gibby youth team.
And finally, Jonty or Jim?
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah. Jonty or Jim?
Jonty or Jim?
Pick a name.
Jonty?
No!
Oh.
That's the wrong answer. It's such the wrong answer. He's also
they're basically the 2 worst personalities at our club.
Yeah.
Not including myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should have done a bit more research.
Yeah, no, you don't want to meet either of them, to be fair. But Jonty is a scrum half, so you might bond over that. Jim probably don't want to be near him when he's drunk.
We all have clubs, don't we? That we all have these key members at our clubs that the club wouldn't be without. But
I know. I mean, I could be very happy.
Like the thorn in a side.
yeah, we could do without them. I mean, one of them I might get a start at 9 if Jonty weren't there. Let's go on to questions from the public. We had one question from Jonty himself, the man that knows everything about rugby, but no one listens to him about. We did prep you with this question. He wanted to know, on a rugby field, what would you prefer to be called? Because he never knows what to call a female referee.
So yeah, as I said, normally in my sort of pre-speech, I will say to teams, you're welcome to call me Sir on pitch or ref, but just don't call me Sir in the clubhouse after. So,
I think that's a fair deal, to be fair.
Yeah. But I think ref. Most people respond to ref. But yeah, now.
That's funny because
Mom seems a bit too sort of.
Yeah, I get that.
And
it's a good War II, isn't it?
And I don't like first names. I don't like them to players to call me Fiona. I wouldn't. That would annoy me.
Yeah, I get that because I see on the obviously on the pro games, because I'm a little bit of a nose. You do see people like professionals call like Wayne Barnes or Nigel Owens by their first name sometimes in conversation. You're like, oh, that's a bit teacher pupil too far. That one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Nigel Owens is a big. I was on a webinar with him over lockdown, and he's very
name drop there, everybody. Name drop.
Name drop.
Me and Nigel. He's basically the Tom Jones of rugby. Everyone knows Tom Jones in Wales. Everyone knows Nigel Owens in Wales if they're a rugby fan.
Apparently, I've him a couple of times. But yeah, and he's very keen for that we maintain a sort of like professionalism. I'm ref, and I will call you captain or 10 red. Or whatever, yeah. And I do notice it in the games after he sort of mentioned that, and it does irritate me actually when they call him by their name. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I don't know about you, Phil, when you've captained. I've always introduced myself as my first name, and then I've had it in games where I've been, oh Tom, can I have a word? And I'll be like, oh, all right, Matthew, and they're like, can you just call me Sir? And I'm like, okay, sorry, sir. It's almost me trying to make friends again, like first name terms and stuff.
You try and make friends with the referee. Is that your
anyone? You'll try and make friends with anyone.
A brick wall. But it is interesting though, because on that whole kind of like first name terms making friends thing is I don't know about you for when you're captain, when you're in a game, it's to 15, 20 minutes in, you go, right, they've lost a ref. Let's keep him on our side. Let's make him our best mate kind of idea. And I don't know if you overhear them conversations, but I've been captain a few times this season and gone, right, they've lost him. Let's keep him on our side. Anything he says, we make a little joke out. We offer him water and stuff. Does that influence you in any way? To go, oh, do you want any water, sir, or ref, or do you need us to do anything? Does that influence you in any way, or is it actually just us bullshitting to ourselves?
No, yeah, it doesn't particularly influence.
Yeah, we're just bullshitting to ourselves. But
it is a known thing. It is a known thing that teams do look at referees and to analyse them. In the World Cup, they looked at whether or not how responsive the referee was when he spoke to players. Don't look at him directly in the fact. They do analyse you. They analyse all your scrum calls and all that kind of that level, don't they?
Yeah. It's an interesting little demographic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the teams, and I think now more with video, lower end teams are doing it more as well. Like, I know referees, we all know referees that week in, week out, what they look for, what they pick up on. You know, I've done games and the same referee has turned up next week and I'm like, right, last week he was really on offsides. We need to be on offsides. We need to, and you know, particularly what they look for.
Yeah.
'Cause we have our own things.
Yeah, I think that is a bit of a tactical move. I know that there's certain referees in our league, especially, I don't know how you feel, but we'll go, right, any chat back, we're getting marched. So anything comes through the captain, everything goes, I mean, and that's the way it should be, but offsides is especially one. There's always two for me as a captain. They go, right, offside or ball out. They're the two you focus on as a captain. You go, what's ball out? All right, it's one hand, two hand off the floor, or offside. If they're calling offside, we'll do it. If not, we'll be as high as we can until it's obvious, kind of thing. It's an interesting one. Anyway, you also reached out. You're one of our best guests for this. You've reached out to your social media to ask for questions. One question I want to put out.
I should film some of this on my social media.
You can film it as well. You can film this one as well. First question: Who's Fiona?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody did this as a bit of a taking the mick, actually, or whether or not they actually want to know who I am. I don't know.
It was from referee_Journey. So I don't know if Journey's his first name or if that's what he's just if that's what he's trying to aim for.
I don't know.
He just really likes the band.
I get a lot of referees worldwide, so there's quite strange names. There's some of the referees and people that follow me. So. Okay,
basically, referee Journey, you're not getting a call back on that one. We've had Tours_88 say, first rugby game on Saturday. Have you got any tips? I don't know if that's refereeing or playing. We'll go from a refereeing point of view.
I messaged him back, actually, and was like, what are we on about? Were we talking about refereeing or were we talking about playing? And he messaged back saying playing. Okay. So for me, I would be like, just get a beer in and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the easy
before and after
one. We've kind of had this one. We'll go to Bevan JF. You know Bevan well?
Julian, he's well known within the refereeing.
Hi, Julian.
Yeah. So he actually podcasts himself. I'm going to name drop him. He will love this. He does 22 Dropouts, which is a podcast.
Right. I think we might have
referees.
I think we might have a little bit of a link going on. Bevan, we'll message you. I'll ask all your 3 questions just so you come on our podcast. Fiona, how far is it to the moon?
It's actually Googled it.
You Googled it as well. You sad.
Googled it, and is it 3,880 something kilometers? Something ridiculous.
You Googled it. We're taking that as the answer. Is yellow snow inedible?
I would say so, yes.
No, it's not inedible. You just shouldn't eat it.
Yeah, I was going to say everything's edible. You just shouldn't eat it. Final question from Bevan. Hi, Bevan. When is the ball out?
See, this is a question that everybody asks the referee, isn't it?
Yeah.
When's the ball out? When's the ball out? I'll say when it's available.
When it's available.
Your answer should be when I tell you. That should be your answer.
That's it. My answer would have been when my boxes have dropped. And then really, really inappropriate for this. I'm really sorry for you. I love it as well, but I'm very ashamed by it.
Singular. Can I just check? Singular.
We just got the one.
It depends how far I pull the boxes to the right. And I can't open these. One of them is you might know the full question, Fiona. About rugby sevens, the ball is thrown and it goes directly into touch. ... That
was it, and I didn't get it either. So
all right, we'll move on then.
Rip that one.
We'll move on from that one. Phil, last 2 questions, of course. Best or worst?
I'm going to ask best.
Go on, you always do.
What's your best rugbying memory, Fiona?
My best rugby memory. Oh, there's been so many. Gosh.
Is it the promotion of Paviers to Midlands Premier? Because I mean, 90% of our 90% of the times we've asked that, it's always been our promotion.
No, we've had some great moments as a girls' team. You know, we've personally or as a team.
We'll go personally for now. Yeah,
I don't know many of your team members.
You should come. They're a good laugh. Personally, probably was my last game because I'd kind of in my head decided it was my last game and hadn't told anybody. And I've been through the club like when it first started. So when I first started playing, the team was really new. So over the years, and they've just the team's just been accepted into the Welsh Premiership, which is just phenomenal.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So it's nice to see them grow, but equally not be a part of being beaten to shit.
By lots of farmers' daughters. Yeah, I agree with that. I know some people that played out there. One thing we haven't asked, and it's normally a staple question of our opening 5 minutes of the podcast. What's your, and we'll go back to the worst rugby memory in a minute, so I'll give you a bit of a preparation time for that. But what's your favourite off the field drinking rugby moment? Have you got any drinking rugby stories from your playing times or even refereeing times which stand out to you as going, that was a class night? There's
been so many, but probably I know that because I've got to say it because the team ripped the shit out of me every year for it. Is my first ever rugby Christmas social with the club, and I hadn't drunk because I'd been pregnant. So it didn't take an awful lot for me to get drunk, and I was so drunk. I was propped up by a pool table, and even that was struggle, you know. And the captain has just ripped me for years about it. She's like, "Oh, here's the girl holding the pool table," you know. I was just wasted, so drunk. But we've had some good times. We've done some tours, and yeah, it's been good.
How old are your kids, by the way?
So my oldest is 9, and my little girl is 6.
Oh,
so yeah, nice they both play rugby.
Oh, do they? Amazing. Yes. Yeah, we got some Welsh internationals there.
Well, in my kids.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. My boy, he's destined for second row. Unfortunately, he's
best position in the world.
He's as tall as me almost, and just wants to take contact.
You might do well. For context, how tall are you?
Me, I'm 5'4".
And he's 9 years old, 9 years old.
So he's got bigger feet than me.
Fucking mountain.
He's bigger feet than me. He's only about 3 stone lighter than me at the minute.
I'm gonna put money on him being Welsh captain one day.
You reckon?
I don't know because you won't remember us in 5 years' time.
You won't, because he'll discover beer and women at some point, I'm sure.
I discovered half of that. And I've only just got a girlfriend. So, what's your?
I feel sorry for whoever, because my girl, if she takes after me and ends up playing rugby, I do feel sorry for whoever her opponent would be.
Yeah, me and Phil others. I mean, Phil's youngest. My word, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, she's only 2, but I think she's basically like Dylan Hartley already. She's just foul. She's a terrible person.
Hardest head in the world. I've seen the headbutt keyboards. She likes that keyboard she plays. She'll headbutt it. She'll be fine. She's hard as nails. No problems for Phil. Anyway, moving on to the last question before my hangover kicks in. What's your worst rugby moment?
I don't know. I don't think I've had any awful moments. I don't know. Yeah.
No bad moments from rugby. I mean, that's how I think rugby should be.
I don't know. I don't think there's been any. I think, okay, probably my first ever refereeing game, and I didn't fully sort of understand the laws, and I just gave a scrum for everything.
That's all right. We've got. He's gonna hate me. Boydie, I know he probably does listen. We've got. He is a bit of a club man, Boydie. I like Boydie. He's a bit of a knob. But the first time he ref me, it was just as the new scrum laws come in, and we had gone from the bind set and all that. We'd gone from the crouch bind set engage, and the first scrum we got to was like, but it was like crouch. I'm not sure that anyway. He was like bind, engage, set, and we're like, that's not how it fucking works, Boydie. It's not how it goes. So at least you scrum for everything. At least you knew what the instructions were. He had no idea at all. He had no idea.
I don't think I did. I think I got told, like you should don't worry too much about learning the laws. And I was like, yeah, but surely I've got to learn them to referee the game. Because I think most players these days, they do know the laws, but like most female players don't know the laws. And
you meet some of the lads we play with, we don't know the fucking laws either.
The referee knows what's going on, and you kind of just, I really didn't understand it, just the simple things. And that this is going to sound really daft now, but like which arm a referee puts up for a penalty depends on which team has the penalty. And I didn't know things like that.
So you just doing this?
Yeah, but like I didn't realise it meant, and I mentioned this to a couple of other females, and like, I didn't know that either.
No, and to be fair, I remember the first time I came to Perths, I was given the flag for the line out, because obviously I mean, I've only started training the last year. I was a very much a Hmong rugby player for a long time, but I was given a flag on my first game, and to call a line out, I didn't know what way I was meant to be pointing. I was just like both hands in the air, and they're like, "It's not YMCA, Tom. Just give it a go off. It's fine." And so it's a ridiculous sport. The laws are complicated. All I've got from this, laws are complicated. People are dickheads because they send abuse. But actually, we all like a beer after the game. That's all I've learned from this podcast.
Yeah.
I think, what are the things we need to learn from this? For me, it's just another way to go. I should drink more. But anyway, Fiona, thank you very much for coming on. I'm glad you put up with me being slightly tipsy, and Phil just sitting there admiring my journalistic interviewing.
I mean, it's been entertaining, Tom. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna lie. I will look back and edit this in the morning and have no fucking idea what I've said. So it would all be fun. It would all be fun. But again, thank you very much for coming on, Fiona.
It's been a pleasure.
Don't do what the rest of our guests do, and as soon as I say bye, leave the call, because that's what normally happens. Stay on for a little bit. But thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to see you. But you have got, if you're at any point in the East Midlands of England, you've got to come to Paviours to come and have a beer with us.
Definitely. And actually, I might just make a point of doing that, actually, because...
Do it. I mean, me and Phil are the nicest people, which says a lot, actually.
I mean, I'm not sure a lot of people will agree with you about me there, but yeah, you're one of the nicer people, definitely.
Thank you very much. I'm now going red because I feel flattered. But thank you very much, Fiona, and don't big me up, Phil. Thank you very much, Fiona, and we'll hopefully get back on the podcast at some point soon.
Definitely.
Oh, by the way, before you go, England-Wales at weekend. Who's winning?
Wales, of course.
England. Yeah, lovely. England. See you later. Thank you. That was Fiona. A lovely girl.
Yeah, really good guest. I'm sure she enjoyed the fact that you were heavily intoxicated.
come on. She called me out very early on for calling it rules as opposed to laws. Call us out on that. I very much felt like I needed to call a ref all the way through. But Mom.
I don't know. That just doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right. But we need to get up the club ultimately.
Definitely
need to get out of the club. I think she would probably drink Rich Hatton, Jim Reeson. I mean, definitely Jonty Green.
Definitely
Jonty Green. I mean, Joe Cunningham probably will drink Joe Cunningham under the table. That's how big a drinker I think Fiona is. I think we found our pinnacle big drinker.
So, well, we've got no proof, but we'll quite happily have her up and see what she can do.
I'm really hoping she doesn't listen back to this because I'm more drunk I was than I was started. For those who don't know, I've drank half a bottle of whiskey tonight. But Phil, I clapped. But Phil, we spoke before the podcast about stuff coming up at the club. We've got some meals coming on. Mummy Egg, Joy Egg is sorting out a meal soon with the infamous Liz Sterland cooking, which is a big meal to get to. When we talk about
18th of March at the club.
18th of March.
Date's changed, but it's now the 18th of March. Tickets are available. Contact Joy Eggleshaw. I need to get off this podcast because Tom has got the giggles.
Well, if you want to come watch the rugby on Saturday, we're at the Winchester from 2:00 to watch England versus Wales. We'll beat the Welsh. It'll be fine. Elliot Daly's going to score a try. See you later, Phil. Have a good one. Bye.